Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Fatmata and this is Traditionally Inspired Meaningful Art. Today I wanted to take a moment to recap my 2024 Make 9 plans. I did go back to a Make 9 last year and it was in the theme of love and marriage, and then comes baby and the baby carriage. And I was very excited about these. In the love category, I had 3 fabrics that I absolutely adore and have loved for a long time and wanted to use the Make 9 challenge, which is a subtle, self-driven, self-motivated challenge where you select 9 items. It could be patterns, fabrics, some people are doing techniques, and it's a gentle way to encourage yourself to complete 9 things that you want to finish by the end of the year. So for my 3 fabrics, I selected this gorgeous yellow and black silky fabric that has this beautiful abstract motif on it. This rayon fabric that has the most delightful bird fabric in this white and blue background with these pops of colors in this tropical print. And then this tablecloth that I thrifted years ago that I just think has the most beautiful design on it, and I want to be able to wear it on my body. As you can see, all 3 of them are still in fabric form. So no, I did not get to any of the fabrics in the love category of my Make 9, so that first entire row is a no-go. Now, there are a couple of reasons for this. At the beginning of last year, I was pregnant and was working on makes for my best friend's marriage, which we'll get to in a second. She was getting married in May, and a lot of the beginning parts of the year I was working on garments that I wanted to make for her, and then knew that I had to get to my own bridesmaid's dress. So that was most of the winter and spring sewing time that I had available. Cut to the summer, I was with a newborn baby, which I was trying to get down to the sewing room, but was not able to tackle any of those. And they're all quite summery fabrics. So when this fall rolled around, maternity leave was over. I was super busy at work. I got very little sewing done, and it just didn't make sense to be trying to do a lot of these summery weight fabrics. So none of those got touched. I don't feel bad about it. It was a good idea, and I hope to try something slightly different in 2025. On to the second row, it's the marriage category. So this one was really nice because I had the May 4th deadline to get these things done. So the first thing that I wanted to do, or one of the things that I wanted to do, was sew up this Erica Bunker blazer for my best friend, for her to wear at one of the bridal events, maybe the bachelorette party, bridal shower, that sort of thing. It's backless and it just is gorgeous. I'd never made a blazer before, so I was really excited to try. I had this amazing fabric and I wanted to give it a go, and I did. It is complete. This project nearly tried to break me. In my final trimester, I was like doing the most trying to get this done. She picked this blazer up, I think the day before I went into labor. So it was cutting it that close. I had made a toile of it. In order to save time, I wanted to go ahead and just go for it and cut out the blazer. We went with the size 18 because that was the size that corresponded to her hip measurement based on this pattern. Unfortunately, because of the backless nature of it, it did not have a finished bust garment measurement or a waistline measurement, because I'm assuming since there is no back on it, there's not a full circumference for them to tell you what the full finished garment measurements are. Anyways, I cut out the wrong size. It was 2 sizes too big. Then I was sitting down like, we've put in all this work. I've made the whole, like front and the bottom of it. Are we really gonna give up on this? I think she was 2 minds about it. She understood, like, you're in your last trimester, don't sweat it. I have purchased other things and can just wear something else. But I was so determined, like I wasn't going to let this project defeat me. So I pressed forward. I used the bottom of it in the size 18 and just took in all of the side seams and all of the darts in the back to give it shaping so that it would fit her waist. And then with the fabric that I had left, I went ahead and interfaced it again and cut out a new bodice front, bodice back, and collar pieces. So we were able to get it done, got the sleeves in there. It is fully lined. I have so much to be proud of about this make. I think the lapels and how I did the collar are gorgeous. The sleeve and having this 2-part sleeve, the back, and figuring out all of the fitting that needed to happen here. I have it pinned up because my dress form is not at the right width to kind of hold it without it falling down. But I am very, very proud of the snake, and it did allow me to check it off. There are some things that I didn't do, like this is meant to be a true, I think, welt pocket, but because of my time constraints, I just went ahead and sewed the pocket flap on. As you can see, like it's not functional. But yeah, otherwise everything was sort of made as it should be, and I'm very, very proud of it. Hopefully I'll be able to insert a photo of my best friend wearing it. She did wear it to a dinner during the bachelorette party, and I'm very happy that she got to wear it. The next thing that I wanted to tackle for her was a structured, I wanted to play with like fabric manipulation. So we had looked at the Stella dress by Vicky Sews. Love Vicky Sews designs. Now their sizing was not it. We bought 2 different patterns. We had to buy the pattern twice because the first time we bought it, it was the wrong size. And then when we were trying to figure out fit and grading, then we ended up buying another size that was 2 sizes below it. And that ended up being too tight. So then we felt like we wanted the middle size, but I wasn't gonna pay for the pattern a 3rd time. So I just ended up using like both patterns and mashing it together or grading between the seams, something. Either way, the dress got made. Every time I see this dress, I want to say Stella. And Hoosers. The Stella dress is a gorgeous fit and sort of flare dress. It has these 2 box pleats in the front here, princess seam bodice. We made it sleeveless. I think it comes with sleeves. And we use this gorgeous silk fabric that we picked up at Fabric Place Basement as a remnant. And then miraculously, I mean like weeks later, if not months later, my friend found another remnant of the same fabric when she went to Fabric Place Basement and bought it so that she could do this gorgeous bow detail. So while what I wanted to do was the fabric manipulation, we had selected the Estella dress. So I did make that, but she's the one that made the bow. So I feel like I'm gonna take it off because it got made regardless, and I did make the dress. So it's a win. She does plan or is hoping to dye this dress to wear it to a wedding she's going to be attending this summer. So hopefully that will work, but I'm really, really proud of it. One thing that I did notice is that this is happening. So I think I'm going to have to find a way to get in there, do some interfacing and put that on. And I think this is happening because if you can see, this is like a silk, but a twill of some sort. So I see the lines going horizontally. And I think because of how the seam is placed, it's sort of ripping apart. So I might have cut that out maybe in the wrong direction and probably should have cut it out with the lines going vertically. I'm not sure, but I will fix that for her so that hopefully she can dye it if the dye takes, and then wear it to the wedding that she's attending this summer. The final thing in that row is my bridesmaid's dress, which you see I'm wearing here, and I use Simplicity S8875. I love this dress. I've made it multiple times. I hacked it to include a waistline and added a full circle skirt onto it. I picked up this fabric when I went to Paris last year for this dress, and I love it. I also got to use this trim that I picked up when I went to Guinea, and I love that. I altered the sleeve to make it have this shirred effect here and added a modesty panel to the neckline in the V. I'm very, very proud of this dress. I ended up cutting out a new pattern in a size 14 because that fit me better after I had my son at the end of March for the wedding in May. And I was nursing exclusively at that time, and I actually did a full bust adjustment on the size 14. So I went up 1 size and then did maybe a 1/2 inch full bust adjustment. I wish I would have just done going up a size. I think cutting out the size 14 would have fit just so. But as full as I was in the chest area when I was exclusively nursing right after having my son, when I was doing all of my fitting to make this dress in April, I was not, like, I knew I wasn't going to stay that voluminous in my bust area, but I wanted to make sure I felt great for the wedding. But I do think that just the size 14 would have been enough. Right now I have so much excess fabric here that will not be filled out anytime soon. And yeah, so that's kind of sad because I would love to wear this more and more, but I think it's just, yeah, it's a lot of excess. It might be something that others might not notice. Like when I stand up, the weight of the full circle skirt, I think pulls it down enough where it can kind of smooth over. So if I have enough padding in whatever undergarment I'm wearing, it might work well, but it is, yeah, it's not a great fit. I wish I would have just done a straight size 14 to have that extra room without the FBA. That's all. So that is the middle row. Now we get to the Then Comes Baby and the baby carriage. I remember when I did my Make 9 video, that's when I announced to the community here on YouTube that I was expecting. So it was a really, really special time. And a couple of things that I wanted to get done. I saw this Simplicity pattern 9556 and just loved how it was meant to be nursing friendly. So I did make myself this. I think when I was having like issues with the blazer, I had taken like a short break. I had this double brush poly in my stash that I had picked up at G Street Fabrics, a decent amount of it. It says Good Vibes. It had like a celestial print. It was fun. It had peace signs, stars. That's all I needed. So I used this and I made the full set. So I made the nursing friendly top, which is very cleverly designed. They have sort of like I don't know how to show you this. They have a slit in the center, and then you put this sort of pleated panel over top of it so baby can access and nurse comfortably. I wore this, I packed it with me when I went to the hospital to deliver, and I was wearing it. The nurses loved it, so that was really nice. I also made the joggers. It does have an elasticated waist, but they want you to put like multiple channels of elastic in it, and I wasn't having that. So I omitted that and actually did like a yoga waistband. So there is no elastic in here. I just used the fabric. I did this for my pregnant body, so I could definitely, I could definitely stand to take it in a little bit, and I would not unpick the whole waistband because I serged it down. I think I would just tack this closed because it's just loungewear. I'm just wearing this at home. So to make it comfortable for me wearing it now, I would definitely bring that in. I do have a video where I talk about making this, so I'll try and link that down below. It has nice roomy pockets, so that was wonderful. I loved wearing this in the early days. Now it is long sleeves. It's also double brush poly. I gave birth to my son at the end of March. Most of my maternity leave was spent in the thick of the summer. This was hot. It was hot. Whew, it was hot. So, different choices could have been made fabric wise, but I was very, very happy. Another thing that I wanted to do was hack a pattern that I already had to make it nursing friendly. And I did that. So I have this vintage pattern here. It's a McCall's 3187. I love it. I love the shape and the fit of the long sleeve top. I hacked it to make it nursing friendly. So I cut off the bodice and added some overlapping panels here so that baby could access, but otherwise when I wore it, it would just look like a top. So I sort of copied this design from another nursing top that I had from my previous births, and I loved it. So this was made out of a gorgeous fleece-backed fabric. Again, I think I was sewing these when it was still very cold, but I gave birth at the end of March, leading into spring, summer. So I don't know if I made the best decisions. With the remainder of the fabric that I had left there, I went ahead and hacked the Simplicity pattern again and made a pair of shorts because that's all I had enough fabric for. Again, added the pockets there, but this time I just did side seam pockets. When I say I used it, I mean very roughly. I just used it for what is a leg shape, basically, because I then went ahead and did the yoga waistband again, which I really like these, and did side seam pockets instead of their slant pockets because I just felt that would be easier. Because I had that Good Vibes fabric, I just used it for any parts where I didn't have any more fabric, and that was wonderful. I think the final thing in the baby category was that I wanted to make something for my son. I didn't get to that. I was very, very blessed to have friends and family who gifted us items for him, and I didn't need to, so I wasn't going to stress myself to make it. So that's my Make 9. I think I did 5 out of the 9. And I'm good with that. I'm very, very happy for the type of year I had last year. I think I made the efforts where they were necessary, and I gave myself grace for the things that I could move on. So for 2025, I was in two minds. Do I make a Make 9? Do I not? But I like it, so I'm gonna do it. I'm going to actually share with you what my goals for 2025 are, and then I'll share with you what my 2025 Make 9 plans are, and you'll see how I've incorporated some of those goals into my plans. So my first goal is to sew down my stash. I have a gorgeous collection of fabrics that I've been cultivating and acquiring over the past couple of years, but it has exploded. I feel like so blessed because when I want to make something, I can just pull and grab something very quickly, even for a toile, bottom weight, lightweight, you name it, I have it. And I feel really blessed to have that. But I need to rein it in. So I want to definitely sew up even like my bulkier items, which I'm hoping to do beginning this January, and start just getting into the stash a lot more. I would love to sew up maybe and get rid of like 2 of these bags of fabric that I have in my sewing like fabric collection. So I've packed some of my fabrics in there in addition to like an IKEA dresser drawer. So my goal is in the next couple of years, maybe like 2 to 3 years, I'd like for all of my fabrics to fit in the IKEA drawer system. I also want to continue learning and utilizing new techniques. Maybe a welt pocket. Maybe I'll be able to improve in hand stitching, which I've started to do a bit more recently, so I'm excited about that. But I want to improve on my finishes and learn some new techniques. I think welt pockets is definitely up there, but I'm sure I'll come up with some others and I'll report back. In addition, I want to have some neater finishes. I look at some of the ready-to-wear clothing that I really like that are a bit higher end, better quality stuff. Things like putting bias binding around the edge of a facing, finding out exactly what sort of interfacing to put on the waistline of trousers so that it doesn't crumble every time I sit or bend over. I want to figure that out. And then just some cleaner finishes. I love having my serger, but I know that I love the look of a French seam and Hong Kong seam finishes, bound seam finishes, different things like that. And as I explore different types of garments, maybe outerwear, more trousers, more fitted things, I'm sure that I'll come across opportunities to use that. And I also want to use my stash of embellishments. I have gorgeous decorative trims that I picked up in Guinea. I have piping that I've thrifted. I have rickrack from my Zimmermann inspired dress. So I have a lot of gorgeous details, and I also had purchased some patches a while ago, like gorgeous embellishment patches, appliques, and things like that. I need to start using some of these things. So those are my goals. I want to have neater finishes, practice some new techniques. I want to use my embellishments, and I want to sew down my stash. There. As far as my Make 9 for 2025, I do have in my first row fabrics again, but I'm doing it a bit differently this time. Okay, so I am actually just doing 3 types of fabric that I want to sew. And the first type of fabric that I want to sew are corduroys. I have these 2 lovely corduroys. I had a burnt orange one that I recently gave away at Scrap Be More, but I still have this gorgeous magenta or fuchsia and this navy. These are both needle cords, and I just love them. So if I don't get to it this winter, then when winter rolls around at the end of the year, I will have it. So this is a nice one. Because they're lighter weight, I think I'd be able to get away with them wearing it in the winter, fall, and early spring. So I would love to have something. I think this would be fun because it's a bright pop of color, but navy classic. I would also like to sew with some of my silk. At G Street Fabric, I think in 2022, possibly, I purchased a number of silk fabrics. I have so much of this. I don't know if it's 4 yards here. This gorgeous taupey color. A lot of neutrals. This one, like both of these feel like chiffons, or they are chiffons. They're a bit more sheer. This one is more substantial. Like this could be a pant weight. It'd be a light pant, but it's hefty. So dress or pant weight. But again, that beautiful like taupey color, they go together. And then I picked up this gorgeous striking, like it's spring green. This red silk I actually made a red lace top out of, so I've used, this is just the remnant here. And then I also have this fuchsia and this burgundy silk. I just want to use one of my silks. I want to sew with silk this year. I think I'm terrified of it, but since one of my goals is to use better finishes, I could probably use one of these now. Finally, for fabrics, I want to use one of my wools, or a couple of my wools. Let's just sew down the stack. I'm really fortunate to have a gorgeous wool collection, some that I've thrifted. So as you can see, this was $3.99 for 1.5 yards of this beautiful like tweed like wool, and I just think it's gorgeous. It's kind of scratchy, it would need to be lined, but I also have this checkered wool that I also thrifted, and that was for a whopping $5.99, and there's like a couple of yards in here. But then I have some that I picked up at G Street Fabrics. These are more coating weight, and I have some remnants from a poncho that I made my mom, and this is just some of my wool collection. So I want to use some of my wool. I think it's going to help me in sewing down my stash, removing some of the bulk from my stash as well, but also give me some really gorgeous outerwear pieces. As far as the types of patterns or the types of things that I want to make, that's the second row. So the first thing I have on there is outerwear. I definitely want to get into my outerwear phase. I would consider like a blazer to be outerwear, but I'm thinking like bomber jackets. I'm thinking light cropped coats, maybe a full-on coat, but I don't know. I don't know if that's in 2025, but maybe like a light jacket. So that's what I'm thinking when I say outerwear. I have a couple of patterns in mind, but honestly, I'm gonna leave it open-ended because I have quite a few things that I'm thinking about, but I wanna do outerwear. I would also like to do something with patchwork. During 2023, I think I answered an ad about getting free like upholstery samples, and went and got so many like gorgeous upholstery samples. I can't show you them all here, but I have a video where I talk about it. So many beautiful things. Hand woven tablecloths that I picked up in El Salvador. I have this gorgeous piece that I picked up while I was in Paris. So I have some pieces where like I wouldn't use them on its own, but I would love to patchwork something together to make a thing. That could be a bag, it could be a wearable garment. I don't really care what it is, but I want to do something patchworky. I also have a ton of my old shirts from college days, etc., that I want to put together possibly into a quilt that I would also consider as patchwork. So regardless of which of these projects I come to, if I have something that I've patchworked together by the end of the year, I would be very thrilled with that. Last on that row, I have a matching ensemble. I remember doing the Selfless Sew April challenge, and I made a matching garment for my husband, our 2 children at the time, and then later on for Mother's Day, I made myself a dress in the matching Ankara fabric. I want to do a matching set. We have a new member of the family, and I want something with all of us in it. It doesn't have to be out of Ankara, so I just have to play around and see what that would be, and to make it manageable. So maybe I'll time it around that summer period. My son's birthday, so he's end of March. Then I have a May baby. I have a June baby. There's Mother's Day in there. There's Father's Day within that time period. So maybe I'll just like pick the month where it corresponds with the individual who has something special going on and make their piece. And then by the end of the summer, we'll all have a matching ensemble. So that I think would be nice and also get me excited to sew up my stash. As far as the bottom panel, I want to talk about patterns. I want to use at least one indie pattern. I have gotten into a rut of like relying on my Simplicity, Butterick, McCall's, you know, the big 5, big 4. And I want to tap into my indie patterns. I've had the Pietra pants pattern that Sarah from Naughty Gnome so graciously gifted me during my birthday, I think back in 2022 or 2023. It's been a while, and I want to sew it up. I think it was 2022. I want to sew it up. I've been so afraid of it to get the fit right, but I've tackled fit. So we're gonna figure this out. I want to make an indie pattern. It could be the Pietras, it could be something else, but I want to get it done. Then I want to also make a vintage pattern. I have so many vintage patterns. Look at all of my cute vintage things. I recently thrifted some gorgeous vintage Vogue and Butterick patterns, and I am just so excited about the design details, the design lines, and I want to sew up one of my vintage patterns. I love the new techniques that I learned when I use an authentic vintage pattern, so I want to definitely dive into that. And finally, I want to self-draft a pattern. This could be like heavily hacked from something that's just going to give me a base shape, but I want it to look significantly different than whatever the picture is on the envelope. That's what I mean. So whether it's a block that I make myself, or I take a pattern for like the bits and pieces, heavily mash a bunch of stuff, but I want it to feel like, oh, you made that, you're on your own. So that is something that I definitely want to get back into. When I first started sewing, everything that I made was self-drafted. So I think I've started to rely a lot on patterns now. And sometimes I like flexing that creative muscle a bit more, just to say like, you know, you can do this, right? So that's what I want to be able to do. I hope that you've enjoyed kind of doing the roundup of my 2024 Make 9, looking at my 2025 Make 9, seeing what my goals are for this year. And I'm excited to kind of share that along with you throughout this year, share my journey on how I'm doing, how I'm progressing through those challenges, those goals, and hopefully inspire you if any of my goals align with goals that you have for yourself, or if you've been inspired at all by anything on my Make 9. I hope that you join me here. Let me know in the comments down below any thoughts on a Make 9. Do you have one? Thoughts on my makes from my Make 9 from 2024? Were you along for the ride when I was making that blazer? You know, tell me a little bit about your thoughts on my new Make 9 and sort of how I'm using that Make 9 structure to think about things that I know I'd be excited to make this year. Can't wait to have you along for the ride with me, and I look forward to talking to you in the comments down below. Until next time, stay creative. Bye-bye.